Hello, I'm Elisa Bernick, the author of Departure Stories. Betty Crocker made matzo balls and other lies. And my book is part memoir, part social history, and I use my family to explore the legacy of anti-Semitism and the struggle for women's rights in Minnesota in the early 1960s and 1970s. One story I tell is about my mom. She was the first Jewish woman to be a candidate for the Mrs. Minnesota contest. So this is called Mrs. Jewish Minnesota 1964. I'm going to enter the Mrs. Minnesota contest, my mom announced on a chilly October evening over a dinner of meatloaf, tater tots, and canned corn. The what? My dad asked. The Mrs. Minnesota contest. It's being held at the Minneapolis Auditorium in March, and I'm going to show the judges why I'm the best mother and homemaker in the state, and she paused dramatically. I'm going to win prizes and a trip to Florida to compete in the Mrs. America pageant. I could win $10,000. My mom smiled. She didn't smile very often, so this was notable. There's a hairstyling competition, a cooking contest, sewing, and some other things. You have to be sponsored by a business in the community. And I already talked to Jerry Olson down at the bank. What? My dad said through a mouthful of tater tot. You talked to Jerry about this? He's thinking it over, and I've already got some great recipe ideas. Number one, my dad pointed his fork at my mom. Stop talking about this with Jerry. Number two, tell me exactly what you can win. And number three, how much is this going to cost me? Oh God, for once in your life, Sam, think about something besides money. Think about what it's going to mean to our family when I win. We can go on a trip to Florida. If you win, my dad said. How do you know you're going to win? It's a statewide thing, right? He pointed his fork at her again. There's going to be a lot of other wives. Don't worry, I'm going to win. She waved away his doubts with a shake of her napkin and then leaned across the table and grabbed Danny's hand out of the tater tot bowl. Hey, no more tater tots, mister, until you eat some more corn. You too, Elisa. Stop pushing the corn around and put some in your mouth. You really think they're going to let a Jew win the Mrs. Minnesota contest, my dad asked? My mom rolled her eyes at him. What's that got to do with anything? Oh, come on, Arlene. Think about it. Has a Jew ever been elected president of the United States? Oh, what the hell does that have to do with the Mrs. Minnesota contest? My dad shook his head, unconvinced. All I'm saying is, I think you're biting off more than you can chew, and you still haven't told me how much it's going to cost me. Before you go any further with this crazy idea, I want to know exactly how much it's going to cost. This is not a crazy idea. My mom grabbed Danny's plate and started spooning corn onto it, striking the spoon hard against the plate each time. Maybe, maybe not, my dad said. But think about it. A Jewish Mrs. Minnesota? What are you going to do if they ask for your lefse recipe? Give them your latke recipe instead? He laughed while my mom glared at him.